All right, so this is Lilo and Stitch 2025. It's directed by Dean Fletcher Camp. I'm not going to prolong how I feel about this. This is not good. I don't like it. I don't like these pointless Disney live action remakes that are just thrown out there for money, that don't really have the same impact and just don't work on the same level as the original. Most of them are like that, and most of them I don't like. And this is another one. So in this, I mean, it starts off pretty much around the same thing, same setup. So we have Stitch, played by Chris Sanders. He is pretty much a monster created by Jumba, who's played by Zach Galifianakis in this. We'll get back to him completely and their misadventures. But he was created by Jumba to be a monster, to be evil. He's all about destruction. And so I believe that it's the Federation. I believe they're called the Federation in this, in the original. Exile him. And so they capture him and everything. But he ends up getting away, and he ends up taking a ship and flying off. And he ends up crash landing in Hawaii. So there, he pretends to be a dog to get adopted by Lilo, played by Mai Kaloa. And because he's all about destruction and he's really just a nuisance, he makes things harder for Lilo and her sister in this, Nani, played by Sydney Agudon, who's trying her best after their parents die to raise Lilo, and she's really struggling. And so there's a social worker coming around who doesn't really like what's been going on. And so there's a very real threat of Lilo being taken away, and Stitch is making it even worse. While that's happening, I mean, the whole reason why Stitch pretended to be a dog and get adopted and stuff in the first place, Jumba, and in this Pleakley, played by Billy Magnuson, they have their whole thing where they're trying to catch Stitch. But in this movie, there's a lot more to it. They get a hotel room, and there's other hijinks that go on. Like I said, I don't like this movie. But there are positives here. Not as good as the original, but whatever. I think the main positive is this actress that plays Lilo, Mai Kaloha. I think she really captures Lilo. Lilo being this really weird girl that doesn't have any friends and means well, but is constantly getting into issues, right? I like the idea that she constantly sneaks into this hot tub that she's not supposed to be in, and they're like, "Hey, Lilo," and, she does certain things. She's kind of a nuisance, and like people will be like, "Oh, Lilo again," and she just, I think she works as Lilo. I think that's the thing that they translated the best, and I think this actress, even though I didn't think she would be all that good, I ended up really liking her. I was like, okay, this feels like Lilo, and her tough situation with her sister, where she caused all these issues and makes things harder for Nani, and there's this rift between them because now we have to go from the transition of being sisters to being, her to Nani taking on more of a mother role. I like that. I think they did a pretty good job on that. Like I said, not as good as the original, but I think that works. And I think both of them give good performances. I think Stitch in this is really good. I think the voice actor does a good job. I think with it being Stitch, it would make sense that he would be the best looking thing in it as far as effects. When it comes to these CGI aliens and things I think Stitch definitely looks the best of all of them, which makes sense. And I like his relationship with Lilo and Nani. I think they did a pretty good job on that. Whenever it's just Lilo and Stitch getting into little hijinks and things, it is enjoyable. That's it as far as positives. I mean, it's a Disney live action remake. It's doing largely the same thing with some changes just to be like, no, we did change it. It's not shot for shot. Instead of there being just Cobra Bubbles, there's another lady there that's checking in on Nani and Lilo. Didn't really need to be there. Felt really forced, especially once Cobra Bubbles really got involved. And it was like, okay, lady, what are you still doing here? Only like they made Cobra Bubbles more interested in Stitch because he saw the spacecraft pretty early on when he first gets there. And that actually made things make less sense. But whatever. There's this other lady that's there now. I think it's David's mom or something that takes away from David. He doesn't feel like he gets as much development and isn't as close to Lilo and Nani as a result. The pacing is all off, especially when it comes to the setup of everything. When Stitch first gets exiled and escapes and stuff like that, it's like they're rushing through it. That felt like it was, even though it's the beginning of the movie and we're trying to get Stitch on, on the planet and get Stitch to Lilo and all that, it feels like it's better developed in the original movie. Like they kind of take their time to really set that up. Whereas in this, it's like it's the same thing, but a speed run, right? There's that character, that big fish guy that's kind of the main villain in the original movie. He's not in this at all. It's just Jumba and Pleakley, mainly Jumba. And I thought that was lame. So they have differences here. And the thing at the end too, there's a pretty big difference there. And I was like, why is that here? This whole marine biologist thing is like that felt like it was forced in this movie too. It's just it's largely following a lot of the same beats or mainly the same ones overall. Just not really doing it on the level of the original. Not really doing it as well. It doesn't work nearly as well. At first, some people say this movie is sanitized, and it definitely is, especially when it comes to Stitch. Even though I like Stitch in this movie, in the original movie, he's a monster. He's evil. He's an asshole. Right? Nani didn't even want to sleep sleep in the same house on the same roof with him early on because she was kind of afraid of him. Right? Whereas in this, he's more of a nuisance. Right? He's just kind of causing issues, like shooting Lilo with the thing and causing problems at her job, the little sprayer and stuff like that, where he's just kind of trolling, or there's some of that in the original movie, but the original movie, I felt like he was more of a force of nature, where he was more of just you could legitimately be afraid of him more than him just messing things up for Lilo and Nani, as far as like Lilo potentially getting taken away. I mean, even when he would try to do something good, like when he's playing the guitar and he dressed up like Elvis, which is only like a brief thing in here. Even when he's doing that, people start crowding around him, and he just starts going crazy. Like there's none of that. They're more focused on Stitch being cute, right? And because of that, the impact is taken away quite a bit. Well, when he makes that transition of seeing them as his family, when he actually starts to get closer to Lilo and things like that, when he's actually surfing with them and things like it takes away from the overall arc of Stitch being this monster and then finding basically humanity and finding a family with these two, a family that he never had, Jumba and Pleakley. So it starts off with everything going on with Stitch being exiled and everything like that. And I was thinking to myself, Jumba doesn't sound right. He doesn't sound like he does in the original movie at all. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit. I couldn't place what the voice, who the voice was. But I was like, this doesn't work. And then I looked at him. I was like, he looks terrible too. And then Pleakley comes in later on. I'm like, okay, yeah, Pleakley, his voice is better, but he also looks really bad. If I can explain it, the way it looked to me, what I was thinking of is they look like AI versions. Like where you see this, they're all over social media where people will make AI versions of cartoon characters in live action. That's what they looked like. It looked horrible. Worst of the worst alien character, CGI characters in the movie is Jumba and Pleakley. And then when they get to Earth, they end up using this thing that didn't have in the original. They transform themselves into two humans that they come across, and so they're inhuman, or they look human. They're transformed, and they get a hotel room and with a hot tub in it, and things like that. There's some hijinks, and that's basically all it is them just bumbling around trying to catch Stitch and not and failing, which is in the original, but to a ridiculous level in this that's never funny. And they're most of the movie in their human forms, the actors that play them. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, so they wanted Zach Galifianakis in this, and so they had him do the voice even though it doesn't fit, but it's okay because most of the time it's just going to be Zach Galifianakis. And they look like garbage. They're the worst looking alien characters in this. But it's all right because you're not going to see them that much because they're not going to be in their alien versions most of the time. It is so bad. I think they're the two worst things of this movie. Like them together is the worst parts, worst scenes in this because it's just there's so much of it and it's not funny at all. I didn't like it at all. It was so obnoxious. It's one of those Disney live action remakes that just doesn't really capture what was special about the original. It's just we're just doing it again. Right? Oh, I guess we can still make money off of it. So whatever. I was in a small theater, but it was full. And I think a lot of people are going to see Mission Impossible. I think that's going to beat this, but whatever. I could be wrong about that. But there was plenty of people still coming to see it that I saw, and that's disheartening. But whatever. Yeah, it doesn't work. It feels like it could have just stayed on Disney Plus. That's another thing. It looks like it should be on Disney Plus. Like they didn't put much time into the cinematography. There's points where it feels like obvious green screen. There's points where it's obvious dubbing, where you can't see a character's mouth and their voice It's clearly different from the rest of their dialogue. I mean, they didn't put much effort into this at all. The saving grace is that they did get a really good, get really good actresses for Lilo and Nani, and Stitch for the most part works. The rest of this is kind of garbage. But because they elevate the movie, I will give this a rental, and I feel bad about that. Even I feel like I'm getting I'm getting soft, or I'm being too nice to this. But I gotta be fair. At least it feels like I'm being fair, and give it a rental. But let's be honest, this didn't need to exist, and you don't need to watch it at all. But if you do, just wait for Disney Plus.